A lot of people are saying that Trump's going to take Florida, and after that, Marco Rubio's kind of out of the race. I want to know what the senator thinks about comments like that, and if it's really over for him after that.
If you think that he can't win Florida, would that make you not vote for him?
No, I would vote for Marco Rubio regardless of what's going to happen. I don't think Donald Trump is capable of being the president of the United States, and I think Rubio's our last hope.
Welcome back now to our Kelly Files special face-to-face with the candidates. Coming to you tonight from Hialeah, Florida with Senator Marco Rubio. Senator, great to see you.
Thank you.
So that question was from Veronica right here in the front row, and you've answered it to some extent, saying that you're in this race, and we'll see if you don't win Florida. That's a different story. But if you're not dropping out before Florida, you say. Let's talk about Donald Trump, though, because Veronica's feeling was she's with you no matter what, and a lot of people in the Republican Party feel that way. And you've heard, of course, about the Never Trump movement. You said, notwithstanding that movement and your concerns about him as the nominee or the president, that you would still support him in a general election. Why? How can you say all the things you've said about him and then say that?
Well, I think it's a reflection of how bad Hillary Clinton is. I mean, I can't imagine voting for Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders for that matter, and I never would. But the fact that you even have to ask that question tells you the problem with Donald Trump's candidacy. He is unacceptable to a significant percentage of Republicans who will not turn out and vote if he's the nominee and will lose. So I don't want Hillary Clinton to be president, but I'm running for president, and I would say to the people that support Donald Trump, look, I understand people are angry and frustrated about the direction of our country, about changes in our culture, about what Barack Obama has done. I understand it, I really do. Anger can motivate you, but it shouldn't define us. And anger is not a plan. Anger is not going to solve our problems. Anger is not going to repeal and replace Obamacare. Anger is not going to rebuild our military. Anger is not going to cut taxes and roll back regulations. Anger is not going to make America a better place to create better paying jobs for millions of Americans who are struggling. And anger isn't going to protect the Constitution. We need real ideas to do that. And my problem with his candidacy is he refuses to answer significant and serious policy questions. These voters deserve to know that. I want to have a policy debate, but he refuses to engage in ideas, and I think that's dangerous, because if you elect someone who doesn't tell you what they're going to do and how they're going to do it, how do you hold them accountable? And what do we know? How do you know what you're voting for?
So the people in the Republican Party who, they say their conscience won't allow them to vote for Donald Trump if he becomes the nominee, who are pushing for a third-party candidate, for anyone, even perhaps someone like you or somebody who was in this race as a Republican, to run as a third-party candidate if you shouldn't get the nomination. You say that they're on the wrong course.
Well, I understand why they feel that way. I really do. I'm not telling you that's an easy decision. That question you ask is tough. He makes it very tough in the things he says and the way he behaves. We have a candidate for president that uses profanity. We have a candidate for president that has attacked a disabled journalist, women, minorities. I mean, he makes it very difficult to be supportive of him. That said, you asked me the question at that debate, or I was asked the question. The bottom line is I cannot imagine ever supporting Hillary Clinton. I don't think that's a reflection of Donald Trump being good. I think that's a reflection of how bad Hillary Clinton would be.
Let's talk about the debates. First of all, what do you think of Chris Christie?
I like Chris. I do. I think he's a good governor in New Jersey, and I like him a lot.
Were you surprised to see him come out and endorse Trump?
I mean, you're not going to get every endorsement, and people have a right to endorse whoever they want. I respect that. I've gotten my share of endorsements. I have the governor of Arkansas, the governor of South Carolina, the former governor of Louisiana, the governor of New Mexico, so the governor of Tennessee. We have great endorsements. Everyone's going to have their endorsements, and I respect that.
Wait, we saw you at that one CNN a couple of weeks ago, and you were all fired up. I mean, it was like a new Senator Rubio, right? It was like you were out there, you were jabbing, you were punching, you were moving. The Fox News debate, you were actually very sick. A lot of people didn't know this, but you were very ill, and you were a little bit more subdued. What accounted for the change? Because as you know, you got a little dirty on the campaign. You got a little naughty out on the campaign.
Yeah, well, look. First of all, that's not who I am, and
you know what I'm talking about, right?
Well, let me say
a little bit.
There are two separate things here. On the issues that have to do with Trump University, which he didn't tell the truth about, on the issues that have to do with his business dealings and all these jobs that he refuses to bring back from overseas, those are legitimate issues. On the other stuff that has to do with personal stuff, I'd do it differently. I really would. And the reason my kids were embarrassed by it, my wife didn't like it, I don't think it reflects good. That's not who I am. That's not what my campaign is going to be about or will ever be about again. Yeah, I'd do it differently. I would. On the personal stuff. I'm not telling you he didn't deserve it. I'm not telling you he didn't deserve it. But that's not who I am. And that's not what I want to be. And I honestly want to be a good example. I want my kids to be proud of me, and I don't think it reflected well on my faith. And so I felt bad about that. But on the other stuff that has to do with those business dealings and the fact that he's telling Americans that he's one thing when in fact he's not, those things are fair game. Not only are they fair game, people need to know that before they turn over our country to someone who isn't who he says he is.
You know, a lot of people thought, media watchers, when you started to mix it up in that way, thought, this is a man who is, he is struggling with a media that Trump dominates. He says incendiary things, and then he gets nonstop coverage 24/7. Have you felt that as a candidate in 2016?
Oh, there's no doubt about it. Well, listen, I gave a series of policy speeches throughout the year. I was lucky if it got a mention. He would use a bad word at a rally or ask people to pledge allegiance, you name it. Whatever he does, it dominates news coverage. You had the head of CBS about a week ago say, Donald Trump may not be good for America, but he's really good for CBS and our ratings. So yeah, reality TV has infected our politics. The culture has crossed over into our political debate, and the problem is that what's at stake here is the most important political office in the world, the commander-in-chief of the United States, the person that has the power to send our young men and women off to die in combat. That's what's at stake here, and it's become a reality TV show, and I think our country's going to regret this for a long time.
What did you make of the press conference that Trump had last night from Florida? It was an hour long. All of the cable networks covered it nonstop, you know, beginning to end.
Listen, he is a master of manipulating the media to cover him. They cut in because they have no idea what he's going to say. Here's the sad indictment. I know you're in the media. I don't mean you. I just mean in general. Those couple days where I was saying, no, she's good. She's very good. But she's tough. She's tough. But those couple days that I was saying those things that I would do differently, every media outlet in America was cutting in live to my events. Every one of them, because they were hoping I would say something so they could cover it. That's how sad this has gotten. And it's, you know, it's unfair. The voters deserve better. They really do.
I want to ask you about Senator Cruz, because somebody who works for his campaign, and he says, look, we've got thousands of volunteers, and this person this wasn't sanctioned, but they repeated that report out in Hawaii about you getting ready to leave the race before Florida, or being pressured to leave the race before Florida. He says, look, that wasn't me, and I don't stand by that. Your thoughts on it? Well,
if he says it wasn't him, then I'll believe him. It's happened multiple times now. It doesn't make a difference. Look, there are people out there trying to make a decision about how to vote, and I don't think it's fair to them to tell them something that isn't true. But I can just tell you, I've never talked to anybody about that. We are always going to be in this thing in Florida. We were always going to be on the ballot here. These people have supported me my entire life, and I'm going to give them a chance to make me the nominee of the Republican Party, and that's not going to change.
Now, on the subject of debates, you have another one tomorrow night. This will be the last debate that you get to participate in before Florida, before your home state votes on Super Tuesday 2, as I like to call it. What will be your approach? What Marco Rubio do you think we're going to see tomorrow night?
Well, look, a lot of it depends on the questions. I try to answer the questions. If half the questions are about Donald Trump, then it's going to be dominated about that. I hope the questions are going to be about the national debt, national security, our relationship with Israel, how to defeat ISIS, how to get our economy growing again, how to deal with student loan debt, which is a huge problem in this country. Not a single question has been asked about that in any debate. What the next Supreme Court justice should look like. These are the issues that matter. And I wish these networks would ask more questions about that. I really do. I think the voters deserve to know that. They ask them in the Democratic debate. In our debate, it's all about, he said this about you, what do you say about him? Mm-hmm. And I just think that's unfortunate.
I will say, on behalf of the Fox News moderating team, we tried not to do too much of that, but the candidates have a way of spinning it the way they want to spin it when they get up there.
I understand.
They see an opportunity to slug it out. And some people have an appetite for that. But although after that debate, the feedback from voters was very negative about what they saw on stage. They didn't like to see the Republicans, even though they're trying to decide between you four, they don't like to see the really ugly slugfest.
And I don't like to be a part of it. I would much rather spend the entire debate debating the merits of my tax plan versus someone else's, the merits of my approach towards ISIS versus someone else's. I'd much rather spend debating why Donald Trump thinks we shouldn't stand with Israel, and I believe we should. I mean, I'd much rather talk about that, and I hope we'll have a chance to do that tomorrow.
Actually, we're going to have a chance to do that tonight as well, because one of the questions, actually two of the folks here tonight wanted to hear about Israel and what you'll do, and specifically raised the issue about, well, Trump said that he would remain neutral when it comes to trying to bargain on that deal. Not that he's not a supporter of Israel, but that he would remain neutral when it comes to trying to strike a peace deal in the Middle East. That's where we're going to pick it up right after this break. Take a quick break, on to some policy matters and some of the best moments on the campaign trail when we come right back. Don't go away.